Jordan Peterson built his entire career telling other people how to fix their lives. Millions bought his books. Millions more watched his lectures. He became the most influential psychologist on the internet. But something started shifting around 2022. Twitter suspended him. YouTube pulled his ad revenue. Cambridge rejected him overnight. And then his own profession came after him. The College of Psychologists of Ontario ordered him into mandatory coaching. He fought it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. He lost. The man who made a fortune teaching people to stand up straight is now struggling to stand his own ground. And in 2026, things have only gotten worse. The rise from Fairview to Harvard. Jordan Burnt Peterson was born on June 12, 1962, in Edmonton, Alberta. But his real story begins in Fairview, a quiet town where life moved slow and expectations stayed simple. His parents were not political firebrands. His mother, Beverly, worked as a librarian. His father, Walter, was a schoolteacher. They raised him in a lightly Christian environment, but something in him did not settle. Even as a child, there was a tension building, a feeling that life should be bigger than what he saw around him. At just 13, that tension found direction. He joined the New Democratic Party, drawn to its promises of fairness and change. By 14, he was actively involved, even running for a leadership role. He lost by only 13 votes. He spent time around political figures, including Sandy Notley. In school, during confirmation classes, he began asking sharp questions about Genesis, evolution, and truth. The answers did not satisfy him. Slowly, that quiet background faith disappeared. He walked away with certainty, replacing belief with reason and logic. When he finished high school in 1979, he chose political science and English literature. He even imagined becoming a corporate lawyer. But then, a book changed everything. George Orwell's The Road to Wigan Pier shook him. It exposed how people who claimed to fight for equality were sometimes driven by resentment rather than compassion. The political certainty he had carried since his teenage years began to crack. After completing his degree in 1982, he traveled across Europe. He visited places marked by history's darkest moments, sites connected to war and suffering. That led him to a deeper question. How do ordinary people become part of something so destructive? Political science no longer felt enough. So he made a decision most people would not make. He started over. He pursued a second degree in psychology. By 1984, he had it. His focus was clear. Understand the mind, the fears, the motivations, the hidden patterns that drive people toward order or chaos. That path led him to McGill University, where he studied alcoholism. He found that even sober sons of alcoholic fathers struggled with planning and flexible thinking. Their responses to stress were heightened. That insight showed how vulnerability could be built into the system long before behavior became visible. By the early 1990s, he landed at Harvard. His lectures stood out. Students described them as transformative. After Harvard, he moved to the University of Toronto, balancing teaching with clinical practice, seeing around 20 patients a week. Real people, real problems. That changed the way he spoke. His lectures became more grounded, more urgent. The first book and the YouTube engine. Peterson's first book, Maps of Meaning: The Architecture of Belief, came out in 1999. It pulls together psychology, mythology, religion, literature, and neuroscience to explain how people make sense of life through stories. For Peterson, myths were never just old tales. They were tools to help people face chaos, fear, and uncertainty. That idea, the struggle between chaos and order, became the center of his whole worldview. In 2013, Peterson launched his YouTube channel. At first, it looked like a storage shelf for old lectures. But starting in 2014, he began uploading university courses. Those lectures had been sitting around for years. Suddenly, they became available to anyone in the world. By August 2018, the channel had more than 1.8 million subscribers and over 65 million views. These were dense lectures, long interviews, and serious debates. Yet people kept watching. His classroom had escaped the university and spread across the world. The turning point, Bill C-16. Then came September 2016. Peterson uploaded a series of videos attacking Canada's proposed Bill C-16. He described it as a dangerous move toward compelled speech, arguing the law could force him to use gender-neutral pronouns. What might have stayed a narrow legal debate suddenly exploded. Almost overnight, Peterson became a symbol in a much wider culture war. Bill C-16 added gender identity and expression to the Canadian Human Rights Act. Legal scholars argued the bill did not criminalize ordinary pronoun mistakes. But that did not matter. The debate stopped being just about law. It became a fight over free speech, identity, and power. By the time Bill C-16 passed in 2017, Peterson had crossed into a different level of fame. 12 Rules for Life and World Tour. That fame reached another level in 2018 with 12 Rules for Life. The book sold more than 10 million copies worldwide, and topped bestseller lists in the US, UK, and Canada. In the UK alone, the hardcover sold 153,000 copies that year. Peterson moved from controversial professor to full-scale self-help phenomenon. His 2018 world tour covered 45 cities across North America, Europe, and Australia. More than 200,000 people attended. At places like the Orpheum Theater in Los Angeles, crowds packed in. His live events began to feel less like lectures and more like rallies built around personal transformation. The podcast empire. The podcast launched in December 2016. By 2022, it had reached around 500 million downloads and views. In June 2022, he signed a major deal with the Daily Wire, locking the show into a powerful media network. Episodes continued dropping several times a week, turning controversy into attention, loyalty, and revenue. The cracks begin to show. By late 2021, Peterson stepped away from the University of Toronto, attacking what he called woke madness. He later became Chancellor of Ralston College in 2022, though he stepped down in 2025. He helped launch the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship in 2023, and then Peterson Academy in 2024, an online education project built with help from his daughter Michaela. Within a short time, it drew tens of thousands of students. Peterson was no longer just criticizing institutions. He was trying to build replacements. Cambridge collapse. In 2019, Cambridge University offered him a visiting fellowship. For a moment, it looked like he still had a path back into elite academic spaces. Then, everything fell apart. Photos appeared, showing Peterson smiling beside a man in New Zealand wearing a shirt that said, "I'm a proud Islamophobe." The shirt also listed horrific acts. Cambridge pulled the fellowship. The university's vice-chancellor said the image suggested a casual endorsement by association. One image became a symbol of how quickly elite institutions could shut their doors on Peterson, even while his popularity outside them kept rising. Twitter and YouTube strikes. Then came June 2022. Twitter suspended his account. The trigger was a tweet about actor Elliot Page in which Peterson used Page's former name and condemned top surgery in harsh language. Twitter treated it as hateful conduct. Peterson refused to delete the tweet. He said he would rather die than comply. The tweet disappeared from the platform, but the fallout made the story bigger. A major tech platform had directly cut into his ability to speak online. YouTube followed. 2 Peterson videos were demonetized. One attacked Twitter's rules. The other used extreme historical comparisons to describe gender-affirming surgeries. YouTube left the videos up but removed ad revenue because they violated hateful content policies. The platforms that helped make him rich were now placing limits on him. Climate backlash. The backlash widened further when Peterson began speaking more aggressively about climate change. On Joe Rogan's podcast in 2022, he dismissed climate models and downplayed the danger of carbon dioxide. Climate scientist Michael Mann called Peterson's comments false and nonsensical. For critics, this was proof Peterson was moving beyond his field. For supporters, it was evidence he was challenging official narratives. Either way, he was no longer only a fighter in debates over gender and free speech. He had become a broader anti-establishment figure. The regulatory crackdown? Then came the most damaging blow. The College of Psychologists of Ontario ordered Peterson into mandatory coaching over his online conduct. They argued his public statements, particularly about political figures and social issues, fell below professional standards. Peterson fought it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. In a decision that sent shockwaves through his fanbase, he lost. The courts treated the case as a normal licensing standards issue, not a sweeping showdown over free speech. That difference mattered. It suggested that, no matter how large his audience became, his public identity was still tied to a real license, real rules, and real consequences. 2026 things get worse. Now, in early 2026, things are not going well for Jordan Peterson. His health has become a growing concern. Reports have emerged of severe withdrawal symptoms from a benzodiazepine dependency that nearly killed him in 2020. In recent months, followers have noted his increasingly erratic speaking patterns and emotional instability during live events. In February 2026, a scheduled speaking tour in Australia was quietly scaled back after multiple venues expressed concerns over his past comments about climate change and gender. The Australian Psychological Society issued a statement reminding members that Peterson is not registered to practice in the country. His Daily Wire partnership, once a cornerstone of his media empire, appears to be cooling. Insiders report that the network has not renewed certain promotional commitments, though neither party has confirmed a split. Meanwhile, Peterson Academy, launched with great fanfare in 2024, has seen enrollment plateau. Student reviews on independent forums complain of unfinished course modules and limited instructor interaction. In March 2026, a prolonged hospitalization variously described as exhaustion and ongoing medical evaluation forced the cancellation of a planned European tour. Thousands of ticket holders were refunded. Peterson's social media accounts, once a daily torrent of commentary, have gone quiet for days at a time. When he does post, the tone has shifted. Gone are the confident declarations about cleaning your room and standing up straight. In their place are darker reflections, laments about betrayal, accusations of coordinated attacks, and warnings that the forces of chaos have won. The legacy question. The strange arc of Peterson's public life is now impossible to miss. He rose by telling millions how to find meaning, take responsibility, and face suffering directly. He became a phenomenon by standing against what he saw as a corrupt ideological tide. But the same systems he fought have pushed back harder than anyone expected. His license is restricted. His platform access is limited. His health is failing. His audience is fragmenting. The man who built a career on teaching resilience is now being tested by forces he cannot control with a lecture or a rule. And the question that haunts his remaining followers is the one Peterson himself used to ask so forcefully when the structure collapses. When the order gives way to chaos, what do you do? For Jordan Peterson right now, there is no clear answer. Only the silence of a voice that once roared and now struggles to be heard. Subscribe to keep uncovering the truth behind the legends. Thanks for watching.